and thank you for joining the NeedyMeds special topic webinar, Breast Cancer Awareness Month and You. My name is Carla. I am the Director of Education here at NeedyMeds. And before we get started with today's presentation, I just want to go over a few things. You can feel free to type any questions you may have throughout the presentation into the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel, but just know that we will reserve answering questions until the end. If we don't have the time to answer your specific question, we will follow up with you personally via email after the webinar, probably later today or at the latest by tomorrow morning. And of course, at the end of the presentation, we'll provide the contact information for both the American Breast Cancer Foundation as well as NeedyMeds. This webinar is also being recorded, and we'll convert it into a video to be posted on the NeedyMeds YouTube page as soon as we can. That usually takes us a few days, so you can check out our YouTube page by the end of this week or at the latest, the beginning of next week for a copy of today's presentation. So with that, let's get started. For those of you that are not familiar with who NeedyMeds is, I always put a snapshot of our homepage. And I put that up because really our website is the face of our organization. NeedyMeds is a national nonprofit. We are dedicated to educating and empowering those seeking affordable health care. And we define education in two ways. One, by educating people about NeedyMeds and the resources we have to offer. And two, by letting them know about other invaluable resources and timely healthcare topics, which is why we are so pleased to have our guest with us today. It is my pleasure to introduce Beth Hall. Beth is the Director of Social Media and Educational Outreach at the American Breast Cancer Foundation. She oversees all of the public relations and social media channels for the organization and works to educate the public on the benefits of early detection. Beth actually herself comes from a family with a strong history of breast cancer. So when we were talking about her stepping up to do this webinar, she let me know that she felt very lucky to work for a cause that is so close to her heart. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic and the screen to Beth. So bear with us. You may hear some silence in the meantime. And Beth, you should be able to take it away. Thanks everybody for your patience and enjoy this morning's presentation.
Alrighty, everyone. So nice to hear and notice everybody joining us this afternoon. My name, as Carla mentioned, is Beth Hall. I'm the Director of Educational and Social Media Outreach for American Breast Cancer Foundation. And I'm so excited to be here. This is the first webinar I've done, so it's very exciting. And I'm very excited to talk to you all about ABCF, what we do, and some things you can learn about early detection and breast cancer. So first off, I wanted to tell you just a little bit about us, about ABCF. So we are a national nonprofit organization, a 501c3, and we provide financial assistance for breast cancer screenings and diagnostic tests for uninsured and underserved individuals. That's regardless of age, race, or gender, or your insurance status. So there are a few important terms when it comes to breast cancer. I'm going to talk a little more about our organization later in the webinar, but this overview of breast cancer, if you don't know too much about it, is pretty important. Understanding the disease is important because it affects 1 in 8 women in the U.S. And after diagnosis, many patients can feel lost or isolated. So by learning more about what the disease actually is and what treatments are available, patients or their loved ones too can feel more in control of the situation. So some important terms. Metastasis is the spread of cancer cells from the initial site of the disease to another part of the body. You'll hear that term probably spoken better, but definitely spoken a lot when it comes to cancer because that's them spreading from one place to another. Invasive means it's tending to spread and invade healthy tissue and becoming cancerous tissue. These cells will invade through the duct or the lobule of the breast when it comes to breast cancer. And in a few slides, we'll look at a diagram of the breast and actually discuss the different parts. So in situ means in place, not yet invasive. However, it can become invasive. And finally, a tumor, as you hear a lot when it comes to talking about cancer, is a solid, abnormal new growth of tissue which arises from rapid cell growth. So what is breast cancer? Especially this month, I'm sure you've heard this term thrown around so much, but what exactly is the disease? So it's a malignant tumor started from the cells and tissues of the breast. Cancer cells contain damaged DNA that cannot repair themselves like normal cells can. So as you can see in that image, cancer cells can replicate and actually create more cancer cells, which results in a lump or a tumor. And not all tumors are cancerous, and those that are not are called benign lumps, and a biopsy test can diagnose the status of a tumor by removing some of the cells or tissue for testing. So as I mentioned earlier, breast cancer does affect 1 in 8 women in the US, and it is the most common cancer in the whole world among women. In this year alone, approximately 231,000 or some new cases of invasive breast cancer will be diagnosed. And since 2007, ABCF has actually issued over 46,000 grants to people to help this early detection process, and the number we serve continues to grow each year. So the different types of breast cancer. Some big medical words here, but the most important factor is the size of the tumor when discovered and whether it has spread to the lymph glands under your armpit. And also, this type of cancer also affects treatment and discovery. There are a few common types that you see here. Ductal or lobular refers to where in the breast the cancer forms. So the most common type of breast cancer is invasive ductal carcinoma. Since it's invasive, it can spread to other parts of the body via the lymph system and the bloodstream. Lobular carcinomas, such as ILC, are much harder to detect on a mammogram, so they may require other testing. If you're experiencing symptoms of breast cancer and the mammogram results are normal, you might want to request an ultrasound or a biopsy just to be sure. Frequently, our grants cover both of those because doctors nowadays also usually request both to test for this type of cancer. Lobular cancers, while often going undetected for longer, are hormone positive, which actually makes them easier to treat than other types of breast cancer. So what are the signs and symptoms? Breast cancer does not always appear in the form of a lump or a tumor, and it's important to be aware of all of the symptoms and to consult your physician if you're experiencing any of them. Obviously, you have a lump, so finding a new lump in one of your breasts is the most common symptom of breast cancer, and cancerous lumps can be painless or cause tenderness or pain. Actually, those lumps which are painless are more likely to be malignant, which is very interesting, and that is why it is so important to consult your physician if you detect a lump, even if it's painless. You might think it doesn't hurt, so it can't be bad, but it actually could be. So swelling, if there's any swelling in the area, irritation on breast skin or nipples, that may include redness, scaliness, dimpling, or thickening of the skin on the nipple area. Breast or nipple pain, so also pay attention to pain. Nipple discharge, the nipple turning inward, so it's called nipple retraction, or swollen lymph nodes. So sometimes if the cancer has spread to the lymph nodes, which are right around the same area, it can cause them to swell. So if you don't feel any pain but you notice that swelling, that's important to look for as well. So prevention and early detection. This is what we really try to advocate for in our nonprofit, because the earlier you detect the breast cancer, the better chance you have of survival. There's no way around it. That's the absolute best way to stop yourself from progressing in the disease is catching it early. There's no definite way to prevent breast cancer. Even healthy young people can get the disease even with no family history. But there are steps you can take to lower your chances of developing it. And these are called protective factors. So studies have shown that regular exercise, a balanced diet, and breastfeeding actually all serve to lower your risk for developing the disease. And this is in men and women. It's also important to be aware of any risk factors that might affect you. So some unchangeable risk factors are gender. Obviously, women are at a higher risk than men for developing the disease. Age, because your risk increases as you get older, and genetics. The gene mutation for BRCA1 and BRCA2 They're hereditary, and they can be present in both men and women. A lot of men that get breast cancer, it's because they have this gene. You can speak to a healthcare professional regarding this testing that you can get to detect the BRCA gene. Other unchangeable risk factors are family history of the disease, personal history, having denser breasts, and your race and ethnicity. So just being aware of all these signs and symptoms, as well as the risk factors, are important because, like I said, early detection is so crucial. And just to ring it in again, early detection really does save lives. Diagnosing breast cancer at an early stage allows for more successful treatment and increased survivorship. Women can and should examine their own breasts starting in their 20s. Performing regular self-exams allows you to get to know how your own breasts look and feel, which may make you more likely to report any changes to your doctor. There are 3 ways of performing a breast self-exam. So there's circular, which is starting at the outer edge of your breast and moving your fingers around the entire breast in a circular motion. Vertical, which is starting at your underarm area, moving your fingers downwards and back up until you've checked the entire breast. Or wedge, which is starting at the outer edge of your breast and moving your fingers towards the nipple and back towards the edge until you've checked the entire breast in small wedge-shaped sections. So you'll want to consult your physician about your technique. They will have very detailed ways to do it, and they'll be able to check that you're doing it correctly so that you will catch anything when you perform these self-exams. Women in their 20s and 30s should also have their breasts clinically examined in a clinical breast exam, the CBE, as part of their annual health examination. And then for women over their 30s, this is usually a complement to other types of screening, such as mammograms, so they'll do both. A mammogram, which you hear a lot about in this Breast Cancer Awareness Month as well, is an X-ray picture of the breast. It can detect lumps in your breast that you may not be able to see or feel. And after the age of 40, a woman should start having a mammogram done annually. And there are very specific guidelines for that, which you can find on our website as well as the American Cancer Society website. They really hone them in every year. They kind of recheck based on statistics to see how often women should be getting these done. And of course, if you have a family history, there's different recommendations. So there are actually 2 types of mammograms, which is screening and diagnostic. So when a mammogram is used to detect cancer in women before they have any signs or symptoms of the disease, it's called a screening mammogram. Those consist of 2 images of each breast and detect lumps or other abnormalities. Diagnostic mammograms are used after a lump or other symptoms have been found. It is also used if it's difficult to see the breast tissue in a screening mammogram due to certain circumstances, such as the presence of breast implants. Diagnostic mammography consists of more X-rays than screening mammography, and therefore it takes longer to complete. Molecular breast imaging, or MBIs, are something you may have been offered in a recent mammogram appointment, because this is a newer test that is up to 4 times better at finding cancer than a mammogram alone. These tests are now available to the public and are specially recommended for women with denser breasts. Now, one thing we advocate for on our end, because we do not discriminate for age, race, or gender, is that men do get breast cancer too, and we have helped male clients. It's rare, but it is becoming more prominent. And often the treatment is delayed due to late detection. Men don't think to perform the same exams or get anything done the same way that women do. So there is the stigma that breast cancer is solely a women's disease. But in fact, data shows that there was a 26% increase from 1975 to 2010 in male breast cancer. A quick story, one of our donors actually had a son affected by breast cancer, and when his wife found the lump when they were applying suntan lotion, he insisted it was nothing, and he delayed consulting his physician. But we really encourage men who experience any symptoms of breast cancer to consult their physician and, of course, get screened. We get calls all the time from men who need mammograms, and we, like I said, we offer support to them as well. So you can see some of the risk factors here for male breast cancer, and those include genetic factors such as the presence of those BRCA genes, BRCA2 and BRCA1, hormonal, such as if you have increased estrogen levels for any reason, occupational, if you're exposed to electromagnetic fields more heavily than other people, that can affect it, or lifestyle factors such as obesity. And so, like I said, a little more about us. I've touched on the people who call us for help and the early detection screenings, how to get it done, how to do your own. But I'll tell you a little more about us. So, like I said, our goal is to provide support and resources to clients who call us when they have nowhere else to turn. So they'll call us when they just can't afford the screening or diagnostic test that they need for breast cancer. And we provide the grants directly to our clients so that they can receive those tests. And if they're diagnosed, we provide support through their treatment. Over 50% of our callers are already experiencing symptoms of the disease when they call us. And they just, like we said, they have nowhere else to turn, or it's just not covered for them, but they want that peace of mind. They want to know the next steps to take, but they can't take them until they get that cost covered for their mammogram, and that's where we step in. So the goal of our programs is to improve the chances of survivorship for our clients by diagnosing the disease at an early stage, as early as possible. Offering these resources is important because if the disparities in breast cancer mortality nationwide, you can see some of the facts behind these disparities on this slide, and it's our hope to reduce these so that equal care can lead to equal outcomes. As you can see, Hispanic women, it's the #1 cause of death, and African American women are 40% more likely to die from it than Caucasian women. And low socioeconomic status is a risk factor for negative breast cancer outcomes because you just don't have access to the same care, and that's what we're working to change. So lastly, as many of you know, there's no shortage of breast cancer charities, especially through Breast Cancer Awareness Month. You may be thinking, how do I get involved? It's a really oversaturated market. Everybody wants donations and everybody wants participation, which is amazing. And we kind of see ourselves as a team with these other charities because we're all working for the same cause, which is to, end this disease, find a cure, help those going through it. We're all working as a team. But when people ask what makes us worth donating to or participating with, I say simple, we fill a void in breast cancer care. And through our breast cancer assistance program, we provide those direct grants to those in need. And essentially, if you're uninsured, you can't afford the mammogram, we'll provide you with a direct grant to cover the cost of it. And many organizations have barriers, based on gender, age, income, or insurance, but we don't. And that makes us incredibly accessible to those in need. For someone with a family history of breast cancer, even like myself, a mammogram can mean precious peace of mind. Imagine you feel a small lump, you have a family history of the disease, but you can't do anything about it because you can't afford to have it checked out. We get callers like this every week from across the nation, and we are so passionate about helping anyone and everyone get the early detection services they need. So that all being said, this is one activity we are doing this month. There is still a little bit of time left in October, so if you'd like to participate, we'd love to have you. It is the Paint It Pink for breast cancer awareness. We're calling it the Paint It Pink Challenge. Simply paint something pink with any kind of pink paint, any shade of pink. Share your creation on social media with the above hashtag, the Paint It Pink for ABCF, and encourage your friends and family to join in and donate. If you don't feel like painting, you don't want to do anything, we always take donations. We love the support. You can see us on Facebook, our Instagram, or just go to abcf.org/donate, and we would love the help. So thank you so much for listening. I think I can now take some questions. I hope you got a lot out of this, and like I said, they'll follow up within the next few days. I'm so happy to have been here. Thank you, guys.
Beth, thank you so much for that very thorough explanation, not only of what ABCF does, but of also the important first steps. I think it's crucial. As you said, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we hear breast cancer, we hear the term thrown around, we see a lot of people trying to spread the word, which is fantastic, but I think a lot of people jump to the wrong assumption that people understand really what exactly is breast cancer, myself included. So I think it was really essential that you were able to break it down and describe, the overall definition, but also the various commonly diagnosed versions of breast cancer. So as Beth said, you can certainly feel free to shoot in any questions that you may have. I do see a few coming in already. Beth, in the meantime, if you want to go ahead and switch the screen back to me, I'm going to take a moment while the questions are coming in to bring up just a few more things since we have your attention. And while we're making the transition of our screens, one of the things that Beth and I both mentioned, in the beginning before our webinar got kicked off, I mentioned very briefly the NeedyMeds Volunteer Ambassador Program. And then Beth just talked a little bit about staying involved. And there are a number of things you can do to stay involved, not only with NeedyMeds in your community, but also ABCF. And sometimes it can simply be, and I'm sure Beth will agree with me, as simple as posting about the causes you believe in on any of your social media platforms. For example, just doing a hashtag painted pink for ABCF will go a long way to spreading the word about breast cancer awareness and letting people know that ABCF is there with that safety net if they're not able to provide, to have access to the healthcare resources that are so important. So Beth, some of the questions that are coming in, and I think you addressed these, but I want to stress them again. You had mentioned that you don't discriminate against age or gender or nationality, but does ABCF help people of any age, or is it only a certain age? For example, we talked about different approaches you should take, whether you're in your 20s or 30s or 40s. Does it matter what age you are when you reach out to ABCF for help?
It does not. I believe the youngest we've had is 14, all the way up to people in their 80s. So it really, we take anyone of any age.
Yeah, and when you had first started, and I think you already answered the question, one of the questions came in when you hadn't gotten to this yet, was does ABCF help women only, or does the program assist men?
It's for women and men. Yeah, like I said, we had that story about that donor whose own son had it and reached out to us for that.
Right, right. Does ABCF only assist people without insurance?
No, which is also a common misconception with us. People are like, well, I have insurance, I just can't afford it. But it's in any case, even if you have insurance, sometimes it won't cover all of it. And we recognize how important that first step is. And so we'll still issue you a grant if you qualify.
And you said people may not turn to ABCF because they have some sort of insurance coverage. And we actually find the same. It's one of the awareness issues that we work so hard to overcome at NeedyMeds. A lot of people think that if they have insurance coverage, that they shouldn't bother to turn to NeedyMeds because we only help people without insurance, and that is absolutely not the case. So both Beth and I will stress, please reach out to both of our organizations if there's any help you may need. And stressing again that NeedyMeds, our goal, we are an informational resource. So our goal is to connect you to programs that may help with your healthcare costs. And certainly that can be medication, but it's not limited to medication. I have an interesting question coming in now. If somebody submits, let's say somebody, I guess, is the recipient of receiving some money from ABCF or a grant, as you call it, and I'm not sure if I'm phrasing this correctly, the way the question came in, Beth, was what is the look-back period for claims? Meaning, I guess, when something's submitted, right. And if you can talk a little bit about that, And that's a great question. Thank you.
It is, definitely. So we work as quickly as we can, but that's definitely a question for Tina. So she is in charge of our call center, and our program number is right on our website.
Let me put this up right here. There we go.
Yes, that's it. That's the number right there, and she can answer all of the ins and outs of that. I know we work as fast as we can, and we get a little higher volume of calls in October when people become more aware, which is exciting for us. But definitely give Tina a call at that number. She's our program coordinator, and she would be happy to give you all of the details because she's
That's
absolutely fantastic.
That's fantastic, Beth. And we have other questions coming in about that, and I think this is all going to be the same, regarding what is approval time, what is the process. And I think some of the answers will probably change on a case-to-case basis. So as Beth said, reaching out to Tina at that toll-free helpline is the best thing that you can do. And I'll say the same for NeedyMeds. Sometime in these presentations, I'll get a question regarding coverage for a specific medication. And I always say exactly what Beth is saying. Please, I refer people to our expert call center counselors, because they're going to be, they deal with the ins and outs of actually connecting people to important programs, and they'll be able to explain it in a much more concise way than I can. Another question coming in is, let's see, do you have to live in a certain state to receive assistance? I know you mentioned that, like NeedyMeds, ABCF is national.
Yeah, we are national. We've served clients, I believe, in all 50 states. A lot of our clients are interestingly, from Florida and Texas. And we're based here in Columbia, Maryland, so it's that's where a lot of our concentration is. But we also have a big, here in Maryland, the Baltimore community is affected very disproportionately by breast cancer. But it's anywhere, any state. We also partner with clinics in, I believe we have one in Washington, we have one in Florida, in Georgia, all over the country, so no bias there.
That's a great segue actually into another inquiry from an audience member, is whether or not there's a specific clinic a grantee must go to.
So normally, I don't believe there is a clinic, but we have a separate program where we give grants to actual clinics that offer free mammograms. So not only do we do these direct grants to clients anywhere, like on an individual basis, we also fund certain clinics across the nation so that women can just walk in, and a lot of times they don't even know that we funded it because we give it to the clinic to be used specifically for that. But yeah, we also do that. But for the most part, no, there's no specific one. But you might have had one done and we might have funded it, and maybe you wouldn't even know because we fund so many clinics.
Right, that's a really good point. And again, stressing to don't hesitate to reach out to visit their website, call their toll-free helpline. You can reach Tina there directly, or shoot an email. If you're like me and you think of these questions, at 2 o'clock in the morning after the webinar is well over. So
right.
What I'm going to do also is before we wrap up today's presentation, I don't see any other questions coming in, but like I said, don't hesitate to reach out to myself, Beth, or either directly ABCF or NeedyMeds. And since I still have your attention, I just wanted to put up a quick screen grab of some of our other upcoming webinars through November. We work really hard to create partnerships with experts in the field, such as ABCF and Beth today, to share the resources they have with the NeedyMeds audience. And you can sign up for any of these free webinars and check our calendar on the NeedyMeds calendar event, which is really easy to find. It's just on the bottom right of our homepage. I'm going to go ahead and leave you with the image of our contact information, and also let everybody know that in your GoToWebinar control panel, you should have access to 2 of the handouts that I uploaded, which are just simply PDF versions of both of the PowerPoints that Beth and myself used today. If you're having difficulty downloading those or you don't see them, you can certainly shoot me a message in the questions section of your GoToWebinar control panel, or contact me via email when the webinar is over. But with that, thank you so much, and hopefully we can convince Beth to come back again because she did such a great job really explaining breast cancer and why ABCF is such a crucial resource to really everybody in our country. So Beth, thank you so much, and thank you to our audience for joining us, and have a wonderful afternoon. Take care.